Solving quadratic equations. Okay, there's three main ways you can solve quadratic equations. We are going to focus on the first one, which is just using our factorizing. Okay, so why do we solve for x? So in linear, why did we actually solve for x? When we have something like this, we consider that this 0 was actually y. So what are we finding when y equals 0? We're finding the x-intercept. X-intercept. So if we rearrange this one, we know that when y equals 0, x equals -2. So that gives us one of the points we can plot if we actually wanted to graph that line. So that's why we solve for x, to find that x-intercept. So it's the same deal with quadratic equations. If we can keep that in our head, that is why we're solving them. Solve them when they equal 0 so that we can find that x-intercept. Okay, so what we're going to use is called the null factor law. Okay, and that's this. If we have something times something else equals 0, we know that either A has to equal 0 or B equals 0. Because two things multiplied together, one of them has to be 0 for it to work. So that is our rule, and that's what we're using. So down here we have two things multiplied together. So by our null factor law, that means x plus 1 must equal 0, or x plus 2 equals 0. Either or, doesn't matter, but we have to have both answers. So then we rearrange it, so x equals -1 or x equals -2. We use or because we don't know that x equals -1 and x equals -2. Also, x can't have two values in one equation. If I sub -1 back into here, it goes in both spots. If I sub -2 back in here, it goes in both spots. So x can't equal two things at once, but x does equal either -1 or -2 for this whole thing to equal 0. Same thing down here. Two brackets, they equal 0. So one bracket equals 0 or the other bracket equals 0. So rearrange, +4. Don't need the plus, my bad. So then this one's a bit harder to rearrange, but not that much harder. So x equals either 4 or -1/2. Straightforward. Here's some ones we actually have to factorize first. So here, 0 equals 2x squared plus x. Well, we want to factorize him first. So x, 2x plus 1. So now that means either x equals 0, because that's one thing multiplied, or 2x plus 1 equals 0. And there's our two answers. Because we have a square, we need two answers. Okay? They can either both be 0, both be the same number, but you should be finding two things. Alright, another one. This one's an easy one to factorize. So we've got -8, so we've got +4 and -2. Alright, it's good practice to let your brackets equal 0 rather than just going straight to the answer. So therefore x equals -4 or x equals 2. This one looks familiar. I've got two terms, I've got a square. This one is our difference of two squares. I'm going to keep chucking that one at you because I want you to get used to it, recognizing him. So therefore 3x minus 2 equals 0, 3x plus 2 equals 0. So therefore x equals 2 on 3 or x equals -2 on 3. That's rearranged, just done without the steps. Okay, this one's slightly harder, but we've got a mnemonic one, so we're going to need to factorize him first. Let's do our ACB method. So negative 18, b equals negative 7. So my two numbers, if I've got 9 and 2, I need 9 to be negative. So then we rewrite it. 6x squared minus 9x plus 2x minus 3. So we've got 3x, 2x minus 3, and 2x minus 3. So then we factorize them again. Alright, now all of this time I should have had an equals 0 there, because this is an equation and I can't just get rid of the equation part. Alright, so now going factorised, we're just going to let each of the brackets equal 0, and then we can get our answer. Equals, there we go. So first step, we need the equation to equal 0. So if he's not equal 0, make him equal 0. Then factorize. And then solve. Using the null factor law. Alright, chapter 3C, page 94, questions 1 to 13. Do them all. They're all nice questions.